So, hello and welcome to the next episode of my podcast, Dating Tips for Single Women. I'm your host, Antia, founder of FindOneElite.com. And today we have Jonathon Aslay with us today. And he's going to really illuminate some yummy secrets that you want to know about, ladies. So, Jonathon is known as America's leading midlife dating and relationship coach. He is a defender and protector of women's hearts around the world. He helps women transform from attracting Mr. Wrong into finding their Mr. Right. Jonathon is a successful entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and author of Unlocking the Male Mind, Finding Love Online, and Why Men Pull Away, 3 Ways to Keep Him Close. Jonathon is like a guy spy to the male mind who truly understands the way a single or divorced man thinks and acts. He's a master of helping women recognize and distinguish the difference between men who are emotionally unavailable from those who are truly ready for love. So welcome, Jonathon.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be part of your program. Can I just reach over and give you a big hug?
I'll give you a hug. It's not that often that we have a man on the podcast and just really give us like the real insight, not what we women think, how men think, right?
Oh my gosh, the way you women think will drive you women crazy, you know?
But I always tell my women, let's go to the source, just really interview a man who has experience, and the insights.
I am blessed in that regard, that I'm able to come from that perspective of the way men view women. And truthfully, I mean, most men have a good heart. I want to speak to the ladies out there. Most men have good hearts. Most men are good guys. They're just a little bad at dating. They've got bad skill sets and whatnot. And, I know all of you would love that in charge alpha male, knows what he wants, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Those guys aren't really the best to be in a relationship anyways, because all they care about is their work and not their ladies. So let's talk about all those other good guys out there that just are a little bit bad at the dating process.
Oh, I love that, Jonathon. What a reframe, right? There's good guys out there. They just need a little support. They just need a little skill, a little compassion, a little communication, right?
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a shame because in one sense, there's so much negativity about men, and that feeds right into, our talk today, which is, if I can mind me saying the title, The 5 Myths of Men Over 40.
Yeah.
Because, there's so much misconception going on, and there's so much expectation and in some ways entitlement and whatnot. And this is why people are frustrated in the dating process because there's all these, past expectations and traditions and rules and that doesn't apply in the same way anymore, especially now that dating has transformed from meeting someone in your small town that you knew for a while and you got together and then got married, whereas now we live in big cities and we have internet dating and Facebook and mobile applications and meetup groups and stuff like that. So there's coaches like you and I and so many others that are really here to help women just navigate the process better. Because the reality is that none of us were raised in such a way to prepare us to be in a good relationship because our parents were dealing with a much older paradigm and so was their parents and so forth and so on. So that's why we're here today. And I want to a little bit unlock the male mind, help women out, and hopefully, and for the ladies watching, I just want to say have a little more compassion and appreciation. And trust me, if you do that, it comes back in spades. It really does come back in spades. So I just want to start with that.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Jonathon. And I'm sure the ladies are really wondering, how does a man like you get into this and say like, did you just wake up one morning, rolled out of bed, and you're like, I fought my mission.
I know for a fact no man goes to college or goes to some training to become a dating and relationship coach. I mean, short of those people that are therapists and go from that route. No, like many people that are like myself, let me backtrack. for me anyway. In 2005, I turned 40 years old and went through a divorce and found myself back out there. And had no clue, because I hadn't been single since the 1990s, which was decades and decades ago. And there's this thing called internet dating that was just blossoming. And I'm like, I thought it's great. You just plug in what you want. Someone would magically appear. I'd be in a happy relationship. Went out on my first date. Fantastic woman. Real sweet, kind, really great date. But something wasn't right. Went out with another woman. Real sweet, kind, something wasn't right. Went out with another woman, another. In 1 year, I went out on over 100 internet dates.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And I realized what wasn't right was me. Something wasn't right with me. So I said, I want to learn about what's going on inside of me. So I started to read books about relationships and started to even seek a little bit of therapy and that sort of thing. I really was on a quest for self-knowledge. But what was happening, I'm talking to women online incessantly. They're reaching out. We're just having conversations, not even meeting for dates. And they'd say, Jonathan, will you check out my profile and help me make it better? So I'd look at their online dating profile and I say, do this, this, and this. Sure enough, they did it. And all of a sudden they met great guys. Or they'd say, will you check out the guy's profile and tell me what you think? And I check out the guy's profile and tell them what they think. And then after a while, I'd get calls. I'm in a relationship. Oh my God, I'm engaged. I'd get all this great feedback. And it was just fun for me. So I read, one of the women said, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. So I wrote a book about online dating. I put it up on a website. And let me mind you, I was an insurance broker before this in 2005.
Oh, wow.
I was so wrapped up in helping women understand men and attract love online that I got out of the business, started to do this full time in 2008-ish, and haven't looked back. And now I've got marriages and engagements and living together, and I've helped a woman in a wheelchair, and a woman who has a mastectomy, and lots of women with STDs, and all this kind of stuff find love. So let me just tell you, it is absolutely possible.
I love it, right? So no matter what your limiting stories out there, ladies, like Jonathan tells you right here, right now.
Exactly.
It's possible for you, no matter what you're going through or what obstacle you supposedly have. And today we're going to actually talk about, because I'm sure what happens with the limiting beliefs, that we create myths, right? Or we read Cosmopolitan or other magazines and talk to girlfriends and grandmas, right? And so today we're going to talk about 5 myths for men over 40. So Jonathan, why don't you let's talk about it, okay. Right? Because there's different paradigms that are out there when it comes to like men in different age groups, right? And to actually understand, no, wait, if he's over 40, he's going through different set of mindsets and paradigms and how he thinks and how he lives. So why don't you illuminate us a little bit more?
Sure. Actually, I did a podcast, or I did a program called The 9 Myths. So I didn't want to overwhelm your audience. So I picked the 5, kind of.
We'll have to have you come back.
Yeah. So, but, the first myth about men, and by the way, my demographics is, as you said, over 40. I call myself a midlife dating coach, and midlife represents after baby making years and before retirement. So I'm probably a little bit older than some of your audience because, but that's the age demographic that I speak to. And I think it's kind of important to understand that a lot of biological changes start to happen to men when they hit midlife. They call it midlife crisis, that sort of thing. And one of them is this notion that men are hunters. So the first myth are men are hunters. And while that is true, that's certainly more true for the 20 or 30-year-old, because as a man ages, his testosterone levels drop. Mm-hmm. And so everyone says, well, men are hunters. Men are supposed to be hunters. Men take the lead, all that kind of thing. But one of the things that happens to midlife men is they don't have that same drive to be a hunter. And truthfully, we have to look at what the motivation of hunting is. A man sees a woman across the room at a bar or sees an online dating profile. Is he hunting a fully committed relationship where he's going to be tied down tomorrow? Absolutely not. He's not hunting a relationship. If anything, he's hunting sex. So even that myth in and of itself, if it were true, it's not that he wants to be in a fully committed relationship with you. So this notion that men are hunters or men like competition and that sort of thing, that's a myth in the respects of when it comes to a fully committed relationship. That is not what we're after if we are hunting. And it's one of the reasons why I'm a proponent that in midlife, that women can certainly take the initiative as well. You can certainly ask a man out, if you've seen him online or know him, there's nothing wrong with saying, let's grab a cup of coffee and get to know one another. This idea that men have to take the lead might make you miss out on some really good men, or even just suggesting after a first or second date, say, hey, I really had a great time with you. Can I show my appreciation? Because men don't necessarily have the same drive as they do in their 20s or 30s. So that first myth is men are hunters.
Wow. And I love what you say to even like let go of this whole myth of that they're hunting for a relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like ideal dream, right? Like, yeah, they want a relationship and they want to have a wife and they want to have babies. And it's like, no, if they're coming from a hunting space, right? Like they're just hunting for one thing.
Yeah. So even if we want to say it's true, it's not like they're hunting relationships. So, there's an old saying, men are the gas and women are the brakes,
Oh, I heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, and what that basically means is they are hunting sex. Your job is to put on the brakes. So, and that leads me to the second myth, because there's this kind of myth that men are only looking for supermodels, that we're only looking for the most gorgeous woman out there. Mm-hmm. And we see that in online dating profiles where men in their 50s put down that they want 20 or 30-year-old women and stuff like that. And from an ego perspective, that is true. The ego wants a supermodel, okay? Mm-hmm. But the reality is, they're not going to be getting them, even if they desire it. It's not what they actually want, on some level, maybe on that ego primal brain side, that to be true. But in reality is we're realistic. We just want someone we're attracted to. So it's just so long as we're attracted to that person and we feel like there's some chemistry, that's what matters most to us. And by the way, this is a two-way street when it comes to attraction and chemistry. So the idea that it's the supermodel and that sort of thing is a little bit extreme, from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. And then other women could say, well, but he's only going to be, you said like, whoever he's attracted to, but where he feels the chemistry with, but he feels the chemistry with women that are looking like supermodels. So then what kind of women do they feel the attraction to and the chemistry with?
We might like to look, there's, the reality is we're all going to look, and women look at attractive men as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're on the hunt for. If we go back to that hunter analogy, because we just want someone that we're attracted to, that we feel good around, that we enjoy being with. That's the most important thing. So that's just kind of an extreme myth that's out there, because I hear that from women all the time. But the reality is, the average guy is just happy when someone gives him attention. That he's happy when someone that just gives him a compliment or shows some enthusiasm or shows some appreciation. And when that happens, he's like, oh my God, I will melt in your, I will melt,
Oh, wow. Well, ladies, I hope you're hearing this, right? You don't have to like turn yourself into a pretzel. All what it takes is a little bit of appreciation goes a long way. Right?
I have an acronym that I use, and it's called ACE. So it's ACE, and the A stands for appreciation, the C stands for a compliment, and the E stands for enthusiasm. So if on a first date or even in a online dating email, where you're exchanging, emails with one another, you show a little bit of appreciation and by the way, not the words thank you. Thank you is a little overused. So even if a guy takes you out and treats for a date, I want to give everyone a suggestion. Instead of saying thank you for taking me out, say, I really appreciate that you took me out. I'm really grateful. Gratitude, grateful, and appreciation lands much greater than the words thank you, because thank you has just been so bastardized. It doesn't carry the weight anymore. So ladies, you want to shift energy, use the word appreciation. Next, compliments. Ladies get compliments every day Oh my God, that's such a cute dress. Oh, I love the way your hair looks. Oh, that's such a cute purse. Guys get zero compliments in any given day. So if you compliment a guy on the way he looks or what he's wearing or his hairstyle or you're easy on the eyes, that sort of thing, bam, he lights up. And so men get very little compliments. So for the woman that does compliment a man, like I was at a business seminar and this one woman said to me, she goes, "You have an amazing voice." And I was like, "Do you want to go on a date?" I mean, and by the way, I'm in a relationship and she's married, but it was like, that's all she had to say, was, "God, you have such an amazing voice." And so, and that leads us to the last piece of enthusiasm. With enthusiasm, it's like, "Wow, you're good looking. Wow, you're really good looking." There's a different energy when you come to the people with enthusiasm, with excitement, So I just want to remind everyone, ACE, ACE, appreciation, compliments, and enthusiasm. It goes a long way. And by the way, for the guys, every guy out there will melt. I promise you. It's like, that's the easiest way to get us to melt.
Ah, that's so great. So all they have to say, "I love your blue shirt that you're wearing today. It so matches your eye color," right? So
ideally, the thing is, it's one thing to compliment the clothes or whatnot, because that's certainly one level of showing compliment. And then if you go that next level, for example, "Wow, you're much better looking than your pictures." So now you're complimenting the looks, and men like to feel proud and peacocks and that sort of thing, or "Wow, those are big muscles," or something like that.
Right.
One thing to compliment what we're wearing and that sort of what we're doing, but you go to the looks and bam, you're going to second base. No, I'm just kidding.
And then if you go to voice, you go like to,
you get a date.
Yeah. Right away. That's so awesome, Jeff. I could talk with this for hours. So what's myth number 3?
Number 3. Well, there's this myth, and I intentionally put this number 3 because men are commitment phobes. While it is true that there is a percentage of the male population, and quite frankly, the female population, that is avoidant to commitment. They are genuinely, internally, absolutely scared to death, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the root of where that comes from, I promise you, whether it's a man or woman, they had a major trauma in their childhood.
Yeah.
They had a major trauma. Maybe they were abandoned by both their parents. Maybe there was or by one or both parents. Maybe there was some trauma that happened in their life. But someone who's genuinely, absolutely commitment phobic,
right?
They had a trauma. And it probably represents 10% of the population. And I'm making that up, so don't hold me to it. The vast majority of men, when they are happy in a relationship, they begin to do what's known as nest, N-E-S-T. They nest into a relationship. Most men, when they feel good with the person they're with, they'll nest into a relationship, which basically means they're not going anywhere. And here's where the confusion lies, because there's this expectation, because women oftentimes is, "Where's this relationship going? Where's this relationship going? Where's this relationship going?" They're always constantly, and it's like, I don't know where it's going. I don't, because in the midlife realm, the vast majority of people are coming off of divorce. 75%, and this is anecdotal, 75% of singles between the ages of 45 and 65 are divorced. So oftentimes that desire to get married doesn't have that same rootedness in it as someone in their 20s or 30s. So there is no game plan on where it's going for most men. So it might appear that they're commitment phobic, but I'm going to tell you something. When they're in a relationship and they're happy, they're not going anywhere. So there's a misconception about the idea of what commitment really looks like. And I got to tell you something, Mia. I talk to women all the time that come to me, "Jonathon, I'm in a relationship and I want more commitment." I go, "Great. What does that look like for you?" "Well, I just want more commitment." I'm going, "Great. What does that look like for you?" "But I just want more commitment from my guy." I'm like, "Great. What does that look like?" And they can't explain it to me. And I'm like, "Well, if you can't explain it to me, how the heck is the guy going to know what you need But all you're saying is you want more of something, you don't even know what it looks like.
Right.
Does it mean that you want to go from 3 days a week seeing each other to 4? That's something. Does it mean you want to move in together? That's something. Does it mean you want to spend time with his kids or something? That's something. But when you just keep saying, I want more of something and I don't know what it looks like, you're the issue, not the guy.
Right. It's so true. And that's what I really find too, Jonathan, like with the hundreds of women that I talked to and interviewed, when I asked them, like, how do you know that you have that? They're like, that's a good question. I never asked myself that question. I'm like, well, then how do you know that you don't have it already?
So, I get the sensitivity to wanting some sort of, there is a survival component with women where you want to be mated with a man, so you know that in the long run that you will support each other financially and that sort of thing. And so I get that. But here's the thing, there's no guarantees anyway. Someone could die, someone could get sick, a lot of things can happen, which is a reminder that we have to take care of ourselves first. Mm-hmm. It's like when you get on an airplane and they say, in the case of cabin pressure dropping, and you're traveling with a small child, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then your child. It's the same with life. You have to start with your own oxygen mask on.
Yes.
Not put the expectation on someone else, because there's no guarantee that they're going to be there, not out of choice, but just out of life circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And what's myth number 4?
This myth is actually brought on by men. So men are the ones that bring on this myth.
So women might not even know about it.
Yeah. So it's that men are simple. And on some level, men are simple. In relationship to women. Have you ever seen that meme where there's a picture of a airplane cockpit, and under the woman's, and it says woman, and there's all these gadgets and buttons and things like that, and then they show the airline cockpit of a man. It's just an on-off switch.
Yeah.
And to some level, there's some truth to that, but the reality is men aren't simple. We might want to convince you that we are, but we are complex, and because men today are going through a complete shift in evolution. That old paradigm where men were the predominant provider protectors. They were the only ones out on the workforce, and everything they said goes. Mm-hmm. Men, it was basically women were property and such now. And that shifted. And men are now trying to find their place in this world in relationship. And I know that might sound like a bunch of hogwash to women, but this is a real reality that's happening there for this age demographic of the baby boomers. They don't know their place as well. In addition, and this is where the big one is, as men age, their testosterone levels drop and their estrogen levels increase. Mm. And so what happens is they are now experiencing emotions in a whole new way. Mm. And most men are underskilled in how to express their emotions. So what happens is they are no longer simple, because it used to be very simple. Men were from A, B, C, D, mm-hmm. point A, B. Now it's like they're all over the map, because they are learning how to really get in touch with who they are. So they can be incredibly complicated. They can be incredibly moody. They can be uncertain at times. So this myth that men are simple that we kind of perpetuate is not really true. Men are absolutely complicated at midlife.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I don't know if that's good or bad news, ladies, but just
it's just I'm just identifying the misconception. I don't know, and it's just really to understand. Again, we have to be compassionate for both sides. This is the biggest problem with dating, and whether I don't care what age demographic you're dealing with, is there's so little compassion and gratitude, because it's been replaced by expectations and entitlement.
Yeah.
If you're expecting men to be a certain way, we will fail you every single time. If you act entitled that we are supposed to be a certain way, do you like the way I did that? Entitled, we're going to let you down as well. So it's really about having compassion, because most people, they're just doing the best they can. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's a man or woman. When a guy screws up in a relationship, believe me, he doesn't do it because he wants to do it intentionally. He's doing it because he's doing the best he can. And so, we can't read each other's minds, and we can't really, we're going through our own internal stuff. And so there's lots of doubt and fear and uncertainty going on, and we're going to make mistakes. So, and what's also really lacking today is understanding. The reason why I coach women in particular about, helping them to understand men is because the more you can understand the opposite sex, the better you can predict their behavior. And when you can predict our behavior, you will make better choices. So that's what I'm all about.
Oh, that's so great. So it's more about like anticipate versus like be surprised about it and become reactive towards it.
Exactly. If you know there's quicksand in front of you, don't pretend like it doesn't exist. You just walk around it.
Oh, what's the last myth?
The fifth one. Okay, so here's the thing. Men know they want women. After that, we have no clue how to manage a relationship. So the myth is that men are supposed to set the tone of the relationship. I'm here to tell you, ladies, when you give that job to a guy, you're giving it to the wrong person. Women are much better containers of how a relationship should be done, because men know one thing: we want women. After that, we don't know what to do next.
So it's more about, so they know how to get a relationship, but not how to keep it. So when it comes to sustaining it and to source it, it's actually up to the woman.
It's absolutely up to the woman. And I don't mean this to be in any controlling sense.
No. Yeah.
It's really about inspiring a man to what makes you happy. Here's the thing about men. Most of the time when we're in a relationship, once remember I said we want women. After that, we don't know what to do. But we know one thing: we want to make you happy. So all you have to do is tell us what makes you happy. But women will say, well, Jonathan, if I have to tell a guy, then it defeats the purpose.
Right.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy, ladies?
Yeah.
You know what? Just tell him this is what makes me happy, and then see if he does it.
Right.
Yeah, but some women, well, I want a man to make reservations for dinner, and I want him to take the lead. I'm like that. You see, that comes from such an expectation and entitled energy, instead of saying, hey, honey, I really like Chinese. I'd love to have sushi tonight. That's all you have to say. Then he'll go into the job and go, okay, he'll go on to Yelp and look up where's the best sushi place. He'll go on Open Table, and he set the reservation. But you made it easy for him. You inspired him on what makes you happy, and then you let him take the lead from there.
Yeah. I think that's such a good takeaway, Jonathan. Is really like set them up for a win.
Yeah.
Right? If you set your man up for a lose, so you feel better, or you can let out your other emotion that you were dealing with all day. Because I have a whole philosophy why women do that, right? It's not going to move the relationship forward, and you're certainly not going to get more commitment out of it.
No.
Awesome.
So those are the 5, little myths about men over feelings.
And of course, we want to know the other ones the next time, but we're already out of time, Jonathan. So I'm sure the women are like,
here's where it's at.
They're eating out of your hands and loving your voice, right? And so what about the women that say, my God, I really want to learn more about those myths and, to learn more about things from a man perspective from Jonathan?
Well, first off, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to speak to your audience. And if your community would like to learn more, I think I'm going to offer some free gift if you press a button right here. I'm sure there's going to be something where I've got my program called The 5 Qualities a Man Seeks in a Soulmate. Mm-hmm. And this is a short audio. You press the button right here and you click on it. It'll take you to my website. Or you can surf my website for all my other free advice that's on there. But The 5 Qualities a Man Seeks in a Soulmate. Here's the thing. Remember I said earlier about understanding? When you understand how men make their choices, then you can say, well, this works for me or this doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, all men need these 5 important things before they're ever going to surrender to love. Let me repeat that. Before they ever surrender to love, they need these 5 important things. And that's what men take that next step into partnership. because without those 5 things, it isn't going to happen. So that's what I've done. I've made it really simple. Press that button, click the audio, get it, and you'll learn how men shift to partnership.
Wow. Instead of like just, and instead of just kind of like talking with your girlfriends about what they could possibly want, you can just get that five qualities that men are looking for in you, that they need to know you have before they enter a relationship, before they even consider entering a relationship with you.
Without these 5 things, or if you're only running on 4, it's always gonna be, well, later. You need these 5 things, and guys will then surrender to love.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jonathon. So much juiciness. Like, I got to bring you back. We want to hear more. Wow. But for now, we're out of time. But thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your wisdom from the male perspective, and just really being such a main contributor to creating peace between the genders.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be on your show, and show, if you will, the podcast.
Yeah.
I support you 100%. You and your guy are doing great work out there, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to listeners. And again, this is Antia Boyd, founder of findoneelite.com, and I'll talk to you next time.